Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but not good night. Text 6, cross-text multiple matching, does not appear in B1 or B2. Therefore, it's new. First of all, for me, it's the most difficult one, so it's the last one I would personally do. And before saying anything else, let's see what it consists of. It has the same introduction to the typical multiple matching, which reviewer, but the way to find the information is different. For this reason, there's not a list of sentences or opinions that we have to look for in the text, but there are only 4 questions. Each is asking which text matches a given idea, and here's an example of the texts. As you see, the vocabulary and the structure used is the most difficult of all of them. Let's see an example of the questions. Which reviewer has a different opinion from the others on the confidence with which the bottom discusses architecture? This one is the most general one because has a different opinion from others. This is the one that when we are looking for 38, 39, and 40, we always have in mind 37 because it's the most general. Usually it's the easiest to find. The others are more specific. Shares reviewers a opinion whether architects should take note of the bottom ideas. Therefore, we've got to go to the first text, A. Find information whether he should or should not take notes of bottom's ideas. If he does think so, then we have to look for this information, this positive information in B, C, or D. Now that we have a general idea of how to carry it out, let's do one together. In their introduction, they are going to tell us what it is about. In this case, how architecture can affect the emotions. And the 4 reviewers, are making reference to the philosopher Alain de Botton's book. The first step is to make the sentences visually easier. And this is how we do it. The cross-text multiple matching can be challenging, but with the right strategies, you can carry it out effectively. That is why every trick, every strategy I'm going to give you, take them into account. As you have to be very methodical. This task is about careful analysis, not speed reading. Doing the exercise instead of having to read different opinion, shares opinion, express similar view, different view. If you realize they are all saying the same. Different or same opinion, that's it. We express it in this way. Share opinion has different opinion. So we don't have to read it anymore. We just look at it. Remember I told you that when we're doing 38, 39, and 40, we have to have this one in mind because it's more general, all. So while we do 38, we pay attention to the confidence with which the bottom discusses architecture. And as they are going to paraphrase it, so we think of other words that may possibly appear: assurance, faith, reliance. For taking 37 into account, let's go to 38 and let's begin the exercise. If we are going to do it together because you want to challenge yourself to see if you would be able to do it, now you say stop the recording in order to compare afterwards your results. If you're not interested in challenging yourself, just don't stop the recording. Stop. The answer it mentions is yes. The bottom's message then is fairly simple but worthwhile. Keyword. precisely because it is simple, readable, and timely. And then he makes reference why architects should take it into account. His commendable aim is to encourage architects. Now, even if you do not know what commendable means, we know it's surrounded by a positive context. So that's what we take into account. Synonyms that could have been used instead of commendable would be admirable, worthy, honorable. They do not use them because it would be too much easier for you. And they have already used worthwhile. Now knowing that 38 is a yes, we should continue reading text B, C, and D in order to find the person that also thinks that his ideas should be shared by other architects. However, in this video, we are not going to go through all of them, just directly we are going to go to the correct one in order for you to find them. So let's read C in order to find where that information is. Stop. And it is said at the end. However, this is an engaging and intelligent book on architecture and something everyone, professionals, don't say architects, professionals within the field in particular, should read. There it is. This is just to remind you that you have to have 37 in mind while we have been reading through A and C in the previous exercise. And we will continue doing so. Let's go to the next one, 39. In B, we have to look for the extent to which architects share Otton's concerns. Stop. Reading B, we realize that the concerns, which was said in a very general way, is making reference to if architecture generates happiness. As it says, if architecture's capacity to generate happiness is inconsistent, and here it is, this might be because happiness has rarely been something architects think about. So now we would go through A, C, and D so we can decide which reviewer is making reference that architects do not pay attention to happiness. And it is in A, so stop. And here is the answer. Yet, architects do not normally talk nowadays very much about emotion, which is in happiness is included, and beauty. They talk about design and function. Let's go to 40. In C, we have to look for what it mentions about the originality of his ideas. Stop. And C mentions that they are not original. Although he is a rigorous thinker, most of the bottom's revelations, such as the contradictions in Lavoisier theory and practice, are not particularly new. There we have it. And as it's got to have a different opinion, so if C says are not original, we have to look for that are original in A, B, and D. So let's look for this information in B. Stop. And it is said at the beginning, he raises important previously unasked questions concerning the quest for beauty in architecture or its rejection or denial. So there the answer is. So now we go to 37 and let's see if where you thought the information was is correct. Now with typical self-assurance, so it's a yes, he is confident. In B, it is said, yet one is left with the feeling that he needed the help and support of earlier authors on the subject to walk him across the daunting threshold of architecture itself. So it's a no. So A, he was confident. In B, he is not confident as he has to rely on others. So whatever says C is important. Has a great time making ball and amusement judgments about architecture. So if he has a great time, it means he is confident. So we know that B is the one which is different to all of them, which is negative. Anyway, let's go to D to see if it's correct. Certainly writes with conviction. So he is confident. So B would be the correct. Hope I've helped you to understand the reasoning behind this exercise. There are more things that have to be considered, but this is the first step that has to be carried out. Knowing which is the answer and finding them. Once you do this correctly, it's the moment to do it not knowing the answer, taking into account other strategies. And as I always say, is theory important? Of course it is, but practice is essential in order to make all the mistakes while practicing so we don't make them during the official exam. Bye bye.